If points content has ever made you feel overwhelmed, reckless, behind, just that is not a you problem. It is a strategy mismatch. The points world can be overwhelming, but I'm here today to help take this and make it simple for you. Take some simple steps forward, understand what are the common mistakes that I see everybody making in the points and miles space when they are beginners like you, and how I can help you make simple steps to avoid those mistakes. So we are going to and I also want you to know that linked in the description below, you're going to see my guide for free points travel after loss. It is just the first 5 things I recommend everybody do, including which cards are best to start with and some of my favorite tools for engaging in the hobby. You can grab the link below and print that out. It's a great next step after this video. I'm going to talk to you about the 7 most common mistakes that I see with points newbies and the people I talk to who are coming into my program who are feeling like they understand some of this but are worried about making mistakes. And then I'm going to give you a simple fix for each one so that this doesn't become overwhelming. It gives you some confidence to actually get going. At the end of the video, I'm going to share a clear list of all 7 things and the simple fixes that you can screenshot so that you have something tangible to take away. Why points management can feel overwhelming. So I included this picture because I know I started with points and miles when I was in this phase of my grief. I was really feeling compelled to travel and to get away, and like I could just really use a break or some sort of relief from the stresses of widowhood. And I had heard about points and miles, but it was really overwhelming. There was a lot of noise in the points and miles space. And so I myself took a little course to get going with this, but I just wanted to show you that this is where I was when I started, and I was able to figure it out with a little bit of hand-holding. But I am here on YouTube and making videos like this for you so that it doesn't have to feel like you have to listen to all of the noise that's out there in the world and all the content being created about it, but that we can just take this simply and make it simple steps forward to change your travel future. All right, so why bother with points at all? I talk to people in a wide range of financial stability when they come to my program. A lot of them are financially stable, actually, thanks to life insurance or maybe some Social Security benefits. And then there's a handful of people who are now truly this single income earners for their family and are struggling to make ends meet, but they know that travel is important to them and they need to figure out a way to do it in a financially responsible way. And points really is such an amazing mechanism to doing that. So there are a lot of reasons to engage with points, but I'm just going to give you some of my top ones. The first one for me was about making happy memories. When you're living in a grief space, as you know, most likely if you're watching this, everything feels hard and complicated and challenging and sad. And I just felt like we needed some happy things, like traveling together, like seeing new things and going new places that were going to give us something good together. And traveling was a way to do that. The other thing about having points is that it takes away that financial guilt of feeling like you're spending money on something frivolous. And it just gives you the permission to go. If you're anything like me at all, there are going to be times where you're just going to feel internally like, I need to get out of here. And having points in the background to sort of fund your travel takes away the element of, oh, it's too expensive, or I couldn't even fathom that right now, because you have the option to fly for free or stay for free, or maybe even both if you kind of play your cards right. For me, it was also about seeing the beauty in the world, knowing that this really hard thing we were going through wasn't the whole story, and to continue to fill my mind and my life and our lives with beautiful things amidst the difficult. And then the last thing is actually increased financial stability. So everybody, whether you can afford it or not, is going to end up traveling in some regard or another, whether that means taking road trips to see family members, taking a weekend away, or traveling around the world. Everybody does some sort of travel, and most people are spending cash to do it. If you swap out that cash for points, now you have that cash you were going to spend on travel for other things, and you are no longer using that money for travel because it's being funded by your points. So it really does increase your financial stability now and moving forward. All right, so we're going to get started with the mistakes. I'm going to give you the mistake. I'm going to tell you sort of what is the cost of that mistake for you as I see it, and then what are some simple fixes that I see that you can take. So mistake number one is starting with the best card strategy. So you are going to hear over and over again from content creators that the best card right now is this, or maybe the shiniest card is this. A lot of people hear about the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Amex Platinum, and they think like those are the go-to travel cards. Those are the fancy people cards. I should get one of those and I'll be set for points on my points journey. But the fact is, those best cards or the big shiny ones aren't usually the best ones to start with. And that's because they tend to have high annual fees. They tend to be a little bit more complicated in terms of the way you use them and get value out of them. So it's almost never the best idea to start with one of those big fancy shiny credit cards, unless perhaps you have somebody kind of walking you through the system. So I think it can confuse and cause anxiety and for people because it just becomes overwhelming when you have a card that's sort of beyond where you are in the hobby. So the fix for that is to start your journey with just one beginner card. And again, I'm just going to point you to the link in the description below for my 5 steps to travel after loss guide, because I'm going to give you my top 2 recommendations for cards that I think are best for beginners. And then I'm also going to give you my favorite tools for how to actually just make your way through this in a very systematic way so that it doesn't feel overwhelming and that it's repeatable. So go ahead and grab that so that you have your steps after the video and you know exactly what to do. But you're just going to start with one beginner card. You're going to learn that system. Before you do anything else, you're going to feel confident in that card and that system. And then you can come back here. You can watch more videos. You can check out my other content and figure out what to do next. But just keep it simple to begin with. It's not a race. Mistake number 2 is choosing any card for a quick discount. Okay, I don't know about you, but I've been at cash registers so many times where I am offered a credit card. And I used to consider it when they would do things. Like I remember doing back to school shopping one year at Old Navy, and somehow I ended up with a bill that was over $300. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was not expecting to spend this amount of money today. And then she was like, well, if you apply for the card, you'll get 20% off. And I was like, that's a quick $60. Like that definitely decreases what I'm spending today that I didn't expect to. Maybe I'll just do that. But the problem is that $60 pales in comparison to the rewards that you would get using travel cards. And I'm guessing you're here today and watching this video because you're interested in travel points, not in just like a quick cash win. So the other thing is it complicates your life to have other logins, other credit cards, other things to remember to pay off. And so the simple fix for this one, and it really is simple, is always say no to retail credit cards. There is really never a good use case for a retail credit card if you plan on you earning points for travel at all. And there are other reasons for that I can get into in other videos in terms of like how this affects your credit score and all of that. Remember, in the long run, or maybe you don't know, but in the long run, this hobby is very good for your credit score, but there are some nuances to that, which I'll talk about in another video for sure. But bottom line, say no to retail credit cards. You are not getting the value that you think you are or that you could be getting with much better card options. All right, moving on to mistake number 3, and that is spending more to earn points. No. That is not the goal of this hobby. If you feel like a card has a minimum spend that you cannot hit, then don't apply for the card. The goal of this is not to spend more money. The goal is to let's get to the fix in just a second, because first I want to talk about the fact that this increases your costs unnecessarily. If you get a credit card and then you spend more to hit that minimum spend just because you want to get those points, then you're actually just spending more money and you're not benefiting from the hobby. You don't want to earn points just from spending more. You want to earn points from spending what you already spend. So the fix for this is really simple. You earn points on your normal spending only. Things like gas, groceries, bills, activities for yourself or for the kids, whatever you spend, those Amazon purchases, whatever you spend on a day-to-day basis, you are not adding more things to hit a minimum spend. Most cards have a minimum spend of $4,000 or $5,000 over the course of 3 months. So that really only comes out to about $1,400 or $1,500 a month. And in today's economy, that's pretty doable for most people. And so you don't need to overspend. I know when I got my first card, I felt like it was a race to hit my minimum spend so that I could get those points. I was like, I don't know if I can do it, but I didn't really do the math. So in an upcoming video, also, I'm going to talk about, let's do the math of making sure we know what we're spending and all of that. So be sure to check back for that and subscribe so that you're alerted when these videos come up. But really, it's actually quite simple. You're just rerouting your regular spending through a credit card instead of a debit card, and that's it. You don't need to spend more. You don't need to complicate it. Mistake number 4 is missing that minimum spend. So as I mentioned, when you sign up for a card, the bank is going to tell you exactly how much money you need to spend over a certain amount of time in order to earn the sign-up bonus. So it's typically $4,000 or $5,000 over the course of 3 months. That varies for different cards, but let's just go with that example. It is important that you hit that minimum spend in the time frame that they give you so that you can get the big reward that they're offering you. So if you don't do that, what happens is you've really wasted effort and probably an annual fee. You will earn some points, but you're missing like the big bang for your buck, which is where the juice of this hobby is. So the fix for this is to set a monthly alert in your phone or on your calendar to check your spending progress. So you would want to do that at least monthly. Between you and me, I'm in there weekly because I like to pay off my card regularly and I like to see how many points I'm earning, and I just like to be on top of my finances. So while I'm in the app, I just check, okay, how much progress have I made towards my minimum spend, just to make sure that I'm there. I also for sure have an alert on the day that the minimum spend is due to make sure that I've hit it. I don't find it very difficult to hit the minimum spends at this point because, like I said, they're pretty feasible, but it is really important that you're tracking that as you go. And it's really quite simple because every bank has an app now, and it's like 2 clicks and you can see how you're doing. All right, mistake number 5, and this is one that I see a lot of people who are not really tuned into the huge value of points for travel that they are making, and that is redeeming points for cash back. So a lot of people start with cashback credit cards once they get credit cards, which is fine. And actually, they're a very good way to build up your credit score so that you can engage in a hobby like this. But what happens is if you earn a bunch of points and then you redeem those points for cash back, and then some people will use that cash to pay down their card, or like it just kind of trickles into the everyday spend of life, it just feels like nothing happened. Like, wait a second, I got all those points and then I traded in for cash, and where did it go? Right? So you don't want to do that because the value for the points just isn't really there when you're getting cash back. Of course, there will be some circumstances where maybe you just need a lump sum of cash, and that's the best use of your points right now. But typically, all you're going to get, the most you would get actually, is 1 cent per point. And so that means if you have 10,000 points in your account, you get $100 for it. And that's not bad, but it's definitely not the best you can do. So the fix for this is to remember that, again, I think you're here because travel is the goal. So if travel is the goal, you want to redeem those points for travel. There are many ways to do that. I'm going to be making videos about that as well. I have my plan for the next several weeks, and earning points and actually learning how to redeem points is very high on my priority list to share with you because I think it's where a lot of people get stuck. But just remember, you're going to use those points for travel in one way or another. All right. Mistake number 6 is hoarding points and saving them. So I see a lot of people do this. I see my family members do this, and it is not a good strategy. And here's why. You lose value, not you, your points lose value over time. And not only that, but then when you're saving points and you're hoarding them up, there's this increased pressure in you like, well, I've been saving these points for years and I have to use them for like a big banger trip or some bucket list trip. And and then you just get stuck in like, oh, I don't want to misuse them in fear, right? So I don't want you to hoard points. In addition to all that, the loss of value of points. When I have, let's say, 100,000 points in my bank's system, what those points can get me, let's say at the start of 2025, is not the same as what they can get me at the start of 2026. And that's because award availability, which is just the fancy term for seats that you can purchase using points, changes constantly. And the price almost always goes up. So your points are getting devalued over time. So I know I had talked to somebody who had about 400,000 points and they were saving it for a big trip, but they've been saving for years. So in that time, if they would have followed the system, they could have re-earned those points, but instead they've hoarded them and saved them, and they've just been sitting there and not getting used. And it's unfortunate because they're losing value. So the fix for this, and this is more of a mindset fix than practically, but is to use your points within 6 to 18 months. And then that tagline is important. You can always earn more. That is literally what I'm here to teach you. That's what I teach in my course. If you want somebody to walk you through it, that's what I do. But the whole point is that you have points and you should use them, right? They are supposed to allow you relief, joy, travel experiences. It is not there to create stress for you. So I am challenging you to actually use those points 6 to 18 months after you earn them, because not only is it going to get you somewhere and get you a win, but it's also going to motivate you to earn more points to do this again. And if you are widowed and you're here, I think it's really important to get a win early, and early is relative. I don't mean like early compared to when your person died. I just mean once you start points and miles, it's good to use them so that you can see the value and importance of it. And it will empower you to get out there and travel more, because I know that there's a huge amount of fear and concern around traveling without your person, maybe for the first time or maybe not. But for many of you, I know it will be your first time going without them in many years. And so you can use your points for something small. It can just be a weekend getaway, but it's important to do it so that you can see that you are fully capable of doing this. Mistake number 7 is avoiding high annual fees. So this is something that I see and I hear from people a lot. And I will say that this mistake is maybe a little bit more advanced than the other ones, but because there's some nuance to it. But people who don't want to get credit cards, I think, are always in the I don't want high annual fees camp. And I recognize that it is tricky to think about paying an annual fee for a credit card. That seems silly when you could get ones for free. But what happens is the cards that have high annual fees also have huge rewards and bonuses. Excuse me. So it is almost always worth it for you to pay the annual fee on a card to get the bonus, right? So the bonuses that they're going to give you will far outweigh the cost that you're paying for the. Now, the fix for this is that you need to ask yourself, do those benefits that I'll get from the card exceed the fee without changing my spending? So if a card has an annual fee of $250, number one, am I going to earn enough points to offset that and then some? And if that card's offering any other perks like free DoorDash or an Uber credit or Dunkin' Donuts credit, are those things that I actually use? So that's why I'm saying this is a little bit more advanced. It's not exactly a beginner tip, but it is important for you to think about and have in your brain the idea that annual fees are not bad and they're almost always worth it, especially if you have a strategy and you know what you're doing. Don't be afraid of annual fees. Okay, and then this is the recap. So if you have been waiting to screenshot, this is the time that you can do that. You can take a screenshot here. These are the first 7 mistakes and all of the simple fixes for them. I will leave that there so you can screenshot that quickly. And I would love to see if there are any questions. I see that Lauren is here from North Carolina. And if you have questions and you're watching the video on replay or afterwards, that you can leave them in the chat as well, and I will get back to you with those. I just want to remind everybody that this hobby is something that I have found has completely changed my mindset in my life. Not because I wanted to like fly fancy business class seats like this. That is a really amazing perk I never thought would be possible, but has been because I've learned to utilize the system well, and my students are flying business class all over the world, and that is really cool and exciting. But for me, it was really just about opening my mind to what was possible. I had no idea that you could pick a place on the map and fly there for free. That was a mind-blowing to me. And I know that most people, that's a pretty mind-blowing idea too. When I ask people to dream about this, they often will say things local, and that's fine. Some people want to travel local, but I just want to open your mind a little bit to the idea that whatever you've like big time dreamed about really is possible if you learn the points and miles system. And I am going to be here to help. Every Wednesday, I'm going to be dropping a video at noon around the same time. I hope you will subscribe and follow along. And I am looking forward to helping you and teaching you and walking you along the way to add more travel to your life. All right, everybody, I'll see you next week.